Hi again. Welcome back to Bound and Unraveled. My name is Christina, and I'm speaking to you from the first day of September. And for this week's video, we're going to do first week of getting properly excited for autumn. I have a series of books that I think give peak autumn vibes, in particular back to school, like academia. First, we're going to start with something that I feel like is a little nod to the nostalgia of back to school as a kid, which is reading a book with somebody else and kind of nerdily discussing it. And that book is going to be The Wild Robot, which is a middle grade book about a robot who opens her eyes for the first time when she's activated by accident by some wildlife on this island, which, as far as I know, is not inhabited by humans. And there she befriends the animals and kind of forms a community and learns to live among all these other creatures. And I'm about halfway through, and so you'll have seen some footage of me starting this. And the thing is, my sister and I are going to read this together and then discuss. I'm going back to school for the first time in a while this year, so I'm just really keen to have my reading align with the mentality that I'm in right now of getting excited. We're actually going to the beach today, so I'm going to bring The Wild Robot and my Kindle. And again, I have several books picked out on there to choose from, so I'll show you which one I pick and then let you know. Okay, sorry, brief interlude. I'm now in a swimsuit. I ended the last clip quite abruptly and vaguely because I did not want to be the reason that my family would leave for the beach, but now I'm ready, fully ready, and everybody else is still getting ready. So, in the meantime, while we're waiting, let's go ahead and pick out which book we're going to read after The Wild Robot. Okay, so I think we're going to read The Magicians by Lev Grossman. This book came to me through Pinterest, through a list of books for adults who loved Harry Potter. This is apparently book one in a trilogy. Okay, it says, Quentin Coldwater is brilliant but miserable. A high school math genius, he's secretly fascinated with a series of children's fantasy novels set in a magical land called Fillory. In real life is disappointing by comparison. When Quentin is unexpectedly admitted to an elite, secret college of magic, it looks like his wildest dreams have come true. But his newfound powers lead him down a rabbit hole of hedonism and disillusionment, and ultimately to the dark secret behind the story of Fillory. The land of his childhood fantasies turns out to be much darker and more dangerous than he ever could have imagined. So I'll see you at the beach, and afterwards once we start reading.
I pull into your driveway, it's a Saturday night. You look like $1,000,000 wearing that dress I like. You're smiling, but there's something missing in your eyes. Girl, I can tell that you have something on your mind. But I will make you forget all your sorrows. Let go like there's no tomorrow.
Thought it'd be golden, crossing the line and don't look back. Think I was broken, I needed some time to clear my head. 'Cause I've made all the mistakes and I've dealt with the heartbreak, but I think that I found my way. 'Cause I've been sinking like a stone. Carolina, take me home. Nothing's ever really broken. I won't let you go. 'Cause I'm finding my way right back to you.
We got nowhere to be, just a slow dance with the summer heat. The world outside can't wait a few, 'cause right now we got nothing else to do. The sun is peeking through the cotton white blinds, your hands still tangled up in mine. Feet on the wall, your head on me, floating easy. nowhere to be. Got nowhere to be. Your hair's a mess, but you don't. You just laugh, let it fall where it lies. Coffee's cold, but we take a sip, talk about nothing. Let the morning slip.
Hi, it is Wednesday, and we're at the airport in Tampa headed to DC, and I wanted to quickly check in with you. Sorry if there's a lot of background noise, but we're working with what we got. Okay, so The Magicians, it's supposed to be set in the 4 years of undergraduate university, or like 5 years, so 4 years of undergraduate plus 1 year of master's. But the way that the characters are written and the way that the school system is described kind of just seems like high school, in the sense that like they wear a uniform and they have very like structured classes. And it's also weird because I'm at about the 50% mark and he's already in his 4th year, which would make him like a college senior, so it definitely isn't giving me a lot of detailed scenes of academia. So that's a little bit of a disappointment. I will say I quite like when the magic is described. For example, like his entrance exam for the university has like a really fun interactive test where the test is like writing back to him, or like he has to draw an animal and the animal like moves around the page. I'm curious to see where it goes from here because again, it seems like he's going to finish the academic part of the book soon. So I will catch you later. But yeah, the time in Tampa was great and definitely a good goodbye to the summer. And now we're heading to DC for a little bit more of a jump forward. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to mention. I liked that in The Magicians, the school is set in this place that is like 3 months behind the rest of the world in terms of the seasons. So that kind of matched how I'm feeling at the moment. Okay, I'll talk to you later. I hope some of this audio is usable.
All still the same. 나의 발자국 따라 하염없이 꼭 붙어갔던 그 길 어느새 또 여기. Can I miss you? Why aren't I with you in this autumn rain? 내 마음을 적셔.
Hi, welcome to Washington, D.C. It is Thursday, and as you can probably tell, it took me a lot longer to read The Magicians than I was expecting. And I think we're just going to get into the whys, which are my overall thoughts. This book was very different to what I was expecting. The first half of the book contains basically his entire academic formation. It jam packs all of that time, and so instead of having like discrete scenes of him learning or living at the university, instead we have something that feels a lot more like something that you would get from a movie montage where we're zoomed out and kind of just jumping forward months, if not years at a time. Because of that, it didn't feel like I was really able to sink my teeth into the setting or much of the learning, and it made it a bit disorientating. I couldn't really understand how this world worked, and that kind of leads into my feelings on the magic as well, which was that the magic system, it's not very visual, and I didn't feel like I really understood how or why things were playing out. One of my favorite parts of fantasy is when I can imagine the magic being worked and like understand what's happening and see it all played out in my head. But I felt like this whole time I just felt a little bit claustrophobic, and at the same time a little bit like I was staring at something from very, very far away and trying to discern it and not really succeeding. And I think because of the way that time lapsed in this story and the vast scope of it chronologically, as well as the changing settings in some ways, it was really hard for me to keep hold of what our objectives were, like what was driving the story forward. It's quite a long book. Again, it took me like several days where I was doing a lot of reading. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna let the dog out 1 second. Yeah, it took me like 4 or 5 days of dedicating a lot of time to reading, and yet I didn't really feel compelled to keep going. I think if I weren't filming, I would have probably DNF'd this book. The main character, Quentin, is not a particularly compelling character. Like, if you're going to have a loosey-goosey plot, I feel like you need to have pretty compelling central characters. And Quentin was kind of just this guy with a lot of angst. Like, my god, the angst. And it was not clear where that angst was coming from. He kind of just seemed very detached from his family, for example. So he kind of just is happy to completely abandon his life prior to college. And that didn't feel very realistic to me. Like, most people I know, when they go to college, like, still expect to see their parents every now and then, but he displayed no real longing or missing of them, no conflicted feelings. Sometimes the characters can make questionable choices or not be particularly likable, but we can understand how they operate and what their driving motivations are. And I didn't feel like I got that with Quentin. The magic and the world building felt very derivative of Narnia, and I loved Narnia as a kid, but this kind of felt like a less rich version of that in some ways. My final thought is that this book overall definitely feels like a prequel. I am confused because from Goodreads, I think that this is the first book in a series, but it reads a lot like if there were an existing series and this book was meant to give the lore to the fans. Because I feel like in a prequel, if you're reading it because you love a series, then you might be fine with having a very loosey-goosey plot. Ideally, the world building and the magic system would all have been done for you in the existing series, so you wouldn't need that as much in the prequel. And you might be intrigued by the angst and the motivations of this character who you've already come to love. And instead, for me, going into this being my first exposure to this author and to this world and the series, I just felt there was not enough work done in the book to make me care about what I read. So, again, disappointing. It took me a long time, and I kept waiting for some payoff, and I didn't really get it. And the final book that we're going to read for this video is Threadneedle by Cari Thomas. From the blurb, Anna's aunt has always warned her of the dangers of magic and its deadly consequences. She counts down the days to the ceremony that will bind her magic forever. That is, until she meets Effie and Addis. They open her eyes to a London she never knew existed, one filled with magical shops, a secret library where the librarian feeds off words, and clubs where revelers lose themselves in a haze of spells. But as Anna steps deeper into this world, she begins to wonder if her aunt was right all along. Is her magic a gift or a curse? No, not the lawnmower again. This is my first day in DC. I'm sat outside on the terrace at literally a perfect temperature where I don't feel warm or cold, and I can just like see the leaves are starting to get their first little hints of color. I want to spend the rest of this week kind of seeking out and noticing those first little glimpses, and this is going to be a part of a series. The next few videos are going to be about getting ready for fall in different ways. So this was like the first one, which is saying goodbye to summer in the previous season, and the next one will be leaning in a little bit more and more towards autumn and what's to come. And I'm going to get to work on editing this video, so I'll check back in with you guys later. All right, we have finished Threadneedle, and I would say that this is what I was looking for and didn't really get out of The Magicians. We meet our main character, Anna, at the end of her summer holidays, right before going back to school for sixth form, and she lives with her aunt. Her parents are dead. Her aunt is extremely controlling, like controlling with a capital C. Her whole motto in life is kind of like, don't feel it, suppress it, and anything that could be joyful or pleasurable is bad. And Anna's kind of just lived her life trying to avoid anybody's notice, again, trying to like tamp down anything that could make her stand out, make her feel, in order to protect herself and keep herself safe within the confines of her aunt's control. A family friend moves back to London with her daughter and her daughter's potential boyfriend, and they start going to Anna's school. And there, Anna, for the first time, kind of is seen by other people within her school, and she develops friendships. And this is all within a world in which there's magic, there are witches, and kind of classically witchy witches, like they sing and like move around in a circle and like do potions and like can do love things and curses. So it's kind of more like classical witchiness, but they kind of coexist alongside non-magical people. And so Anna meets other people who also have magic, like her and her aunt, and she kind of has all of the beliefs that have been ingrained and instilled into her by her aunt challenged for the first time. So that's kind of how the story develops, and we go with Anna basically over the course of an academic year. So it was really nice because we got that transition into school from the summer back into the autumn, but then we also get like discrete, specific scenes of her and her friends at school learning. Like it actually felt like I could immerse myself into that academic environment again. And there's definitely a bit of a dark side, but it really does read very YA. I think a big part of that is that the characters are very caricaturized, and that's something I didn't really enjoy, especially with her group of friends. One's like the fat friend who is overly loud and like just doesn't like her body, and I for one am tired of that. I would have liked to see a friend who was fat and like happy with her body and dating, and instead it was like this girl's whole status within her school and within her community was really shaped by that, by her size, which was disappointing to see in like 2025. And also has like a friend who's very uptight and nerdy to the 11th degree and like leading Bible study. There's another one who's the party girl, kind of outgoing, unabashed, unashamed. And they all kind of just felt like characters that we've seen before in TV shows and books over and over again. So they didn't really feel particularly real. It didn't feel that mature or that original, but I still enjoyed it. It read really quickly. I don't know that I would run to buy this, but if you're looking for a YA academic setting witchy book to get you ready for autumn without having it be like too aggressive and too out there or dark, this could be it. So maybe check it out at your library. The final thing that you'll see in the next clip is my sister and me discussing The Wild Robot and bringing this video to a close. As I mentioned at the beginning, the theme for this video is kind of getting ready for back to school. And so we have fully lent into our nerdy selves, and my sister and I both read a book together, and now we're gonna share our thoughts. So welcome to
Izzy.
my sister. So my first question, I guess, will be overall thoughts and then likes and dislikes.
For context, I don't know about you, but I watched the movie version of this book.
Right, I was gonna ask you about that.
And loved it. I thought overall the book was very like sweet, endearing, but I honestly felt like it didn't impact me as much as I remember the movie impacting me. I felt like part of what made it harder for me to really love the book was that at times I felt like the plot was a bit bland. It was a calming experience to read, but I also felt like I was like, okay, so what's happening? I will say I really liked the like realness of how it felt like it was acknowledging death in a sensitive but also not like super overly dramatic way. I love the part where it basically goes from Roz hearing all of these sounds to hearing words. And I thought that that was really beautiful. Like the idea that if we just are attentive enough to like pick up on animals' intelligence, that there's a lot that we can learn from them. Dislikes, it felt like it was such a missed opportunity that Roz was given a gender. The plot then like was reinforcing certain gender stereotypes.
I just thought it was really weird how, like you said, Roz is just kind of assumed she, her from the beginning. That in and of itself would be fine, but she kind of immediately becomes a mother.
Yeah.
And it's kind of implied that that's not her natural response in some ways. Like, this helpless creature comes across her path, and there are so many different ways that could have gone. She could have befriended the animal. She could have, instead of immediately assuming the mantle of motherhood, there are other things that she could have done. Okay, so my final question, because this is now very long, is who would you recommend this to?
I would recommend A Psalm for the Wild Built over The Wild Robot for adults
Yes.
looking for a cozy, robot, naturey book.
So maybe if you're looking for a gentle introduction for your kids to the reality, like you said, of death, of grief in some ways, of separation from your parents, this could be a nice one because that's also explored. All right, well, thank you so much for reading it with me and discussing. With that, we'll close out this video. Thank you again for watching. Next week will be more of a spooky video, so definitely turn from the wholesomeness of wild romance. Thanks again, and we'll catch you soon in the next video.
Bye.